Hello, guys. We're back with the Heretic Spotlight, part 2. We're gonna go through the weapons, and I'm gonna tell you the things that you might want to focus on. If you have these things all in one weapon, then you have a good weapon for Heretic. So, the better the quality you have in the things that I'm going to describe, then the better the weapon. So, the first two things that you want from your staffs as a starting out Heretic are mana and the magic stat. So, good mana on a staff plus good magic stat means that if you watched the last video, Iconoclast will be better utilized when you have less mana because you have a larger mana pool. So when you have used 5,000 of 5,500 mana, it would be good. But if you've used, say, 6,000 of 7,000 mana, it might be slightly better. Or even if it isn't, you still have 1,000 mana left to work with. And as you're going down, you're still getting an increase as you go. So that is the idea behind that. Having more mana means that you can more easily utilize your mana pool for stuff like raids where you can set your mana, or even stuff like endless. So that is something you guys should give some thought. So I like this staff as a staff just because it is a staff, but that staff is garbage. This one is a hybrid weapon that is going to be too complicated to explain. This might be good in some hybrid Amity carry builds, but it might not be good for much else. Jin staff is pretty much garbage. The Arisen Candy Cane. So this one can be used as an offhand. Dexterity is another big stat that Heretics miss out on. So this one with the luck bonus on it is a really nice carry offhand because you're going to pair it with the Staff of the Chimera. And you're going to use this as an offhand because of the luck stat. Now that we have 400% luck cap, it is a bit difficult to get that 400% as a carry. So if you can get something with a bit of dexterity, a good magic stat, and luck bonus, that is great. The mana isn't going to help some builds, but there are some builds where you can use a Fallen Sky Boots, which consumes extra mana, and you will be able to comfortably consume the mana that these items will give you. This isn't going to give you the most mana in the world because you realize the base mana isn't that big, but it's still going to give you unnecessary mana, especially if you've been using Arisen Fey gear, which most people do use as their normal offhands, which would take away some mana. But I don't want to go into it too much. Just remember, this one can be used to carry. If you get a good one, you can ask me specifically and I'll go into it. Arisen Caroling Loot, as above, it is also good for carrying, and it is also just decent as a hybrid weapon. I really like hybrid weapons because it does work for carry builds especially, and it could work for other things. The Arisen Crow Song and the Arisen Fey Crow Song, awesome for carry builds, awesome. If you don't have the Arisen Fey Maca Pillar, I really like it for carry builds, and you have some hybrid swash builds. I'm not going to go too much into it. I'm going to just identify the good stuff that you can look out for, or you can check your inventory for, and if you have it, you can feel like that little good feeling like, yes, I have this good item. So what you do with these items, I'll make videos about specifically in the future, but I'm just going to identify good ones. This is another one, large mana pool, really decent made stat, and you don't have to worry about the element because you're not using the staff itself to attack. You're going to be using your own spells. So this one is really nice for earlier raiding builds where you want to do a bunch of spells, but you also want to be a bit tanky, have a bit more stats, which means you want to live comfortably in your Iconoclast passive. So yeah, this is a nice one. So this one is not one I've really messed with or used, but if you are T9 or if you're just fresh tier 10 and you have a good one of this, you can get it to level 10. Depending on how easily you can get souls, which come from the arena or other little fringe places, like some world raid bosses, you can decide to take it further if it is your best weapon. But if it isn't, then you can just leave it on upgraded. This is one of my favorite staffs for obvious reasons. 7% act rate. So awesome. It has a little bit of mana and it has a little bit of ward. So I love it overall. It's so nice. It has about 25 to 30% ward. A good one at Godforge. I'm not really remembering how much mana it has because it is very negligible is the word. I'm not sure, but it's not that important because it's very small and the magic stat is decent too. But my favorite thing about it is the follower action. So that is definitely something you guys should look into, and follower action is not cut when you dual wield. Arisen Fae Crow Song, I just spoke about the Crow Song, amazing, one of my favorite weapons. We will go on to the Arisen Fae Mecha Pillar, and if you get one of these early, you are living large because you're going to be able to do so much with it. It has a bit of ward because even though it says negative ward here, as you upgrade it, it becomes positive ward. The negative stats are going to be big on the ornate, so you're going to be losing about 450 to 500 mana and HP while using it. But this is a really awesome staff, really awesome for low tier carry builds where you just want to mages dance through. It gives you the magic up, so you don't even have to worry about that buff if you're not needing anything that you need luck for. So this is definitely still going to be my thing for like T9 bosses, T8 bosses, like dungeons like those. So really awesome. Really awesome. I don't really love it in any other build too much just because of the alternatives. But if you don't have the alternatives, this has the highest magic stat in the game. So that is always awesome. But I kind of prefer buffs over just raw stats. So that is my thinking. But this is an awesome staff regardless. So Arisen Gazing Staff, this one, I wouldn't say you should upgrade this one unless this is literally your only staff and it's your best staff and you've been waiting for a while and you have not found anything in a while, because it doesn't have the worst magic stat, but it's not like you're going to use it as your view distance weapon, which to be honest you can, but I'm not gonna lie, to be honest, you can, depending on how easily you can farm ice stone, because stuff like road trips where you're going to be world farming a lot, you might want to even equip one with your questing staff so you have a bit more view distance and you can see a bit more around, because you can never see too much. So Arisen Genius, this one is not one I would say you should waste your resources on. Avalon or are a bit expensive. This is one of those hybrid weapons that I'm not really in favor of. Arisen Horror. So Arisen Horror, this should have a bonus. I'm not sure which one. Let me see. Okay, so it has luck bonus. Awesome. So if you don't have the loot and you have an Arisen Horror, that is really good too. It has a really good magic stat. It gives a bit of mana and it gives you the luck so that you get more drops, because everything requires a bit of luck nowadays. Arisen Hydra Staff. So this one, if if you have nothing else and you have it, you can get it to level 10. It's just one of those. It's honestly just one of those. Arisen Imagination. So this one got a really big upgrade the other day. Well, not really big, but it got a decent update the other day. And they moved it from 6 adornment slots to 10 adornment slots. So it is really nice. It is really nice if you don't have alternatives. Especially it has a really good magic stat. It gives a bit of mana and a bit of HP. Nothing much, but you know, we'll take it. So carry builds, world raid boss builds if you don't have berserk mushrooms with your arisen staff of the Chimera. And I can't wait to get to that item to just explain it a bit and why I think it's like the best weapon. But I think it does start at a level, so I'll just keep going until I get there, because we're getting into some juicy ones. Juicy. So this one is really nice. You can use it in multiple places. That's what I like. It's not the best weapon in terms of stats, but the dexterity it has is to die for, or to live for, because other things might die if you use it. It's still not a guarantee because our base dex is so low, so it's doing a lot. But deep into your iconoclast, you might be utilizing a bit of dexterity. Plus, especially when you're buffed. So it is very clutch at times. Sometimes even it can't save you, because especially in places like Endless, is the monsters just scale so hard when you get into the deeper floors. But I would rather have this and try to use this than any other staff against the tougher mobs. So that's the thing. And then PvP, this is really good for certain builds as well. And even carry builds that don't require luck, and you don't have something like a really powerful magic staff, I think this is even better than certain powerful magic staffs, just because it makes you hit more often. So I think this is really special in the carry department too. So you guys should definitely check it out. I'm wondering if I've been telling you guys where to use these things, or just telling you that they're good. But I kind of want to tell you both, and I kind of don't, because it's just so much, because the video is already 12 minutes. So we're at the Arisen Caladanda. And this one is another awesome one. 10 adornment slots. Is it 10 or is it 9? It's so many adornment slots, I forgot. But it's a bunch. I think it's 10, but I could be wrong. It has a whole lot of mana. Oh my god, it has so much mana. If you get one of these early T10, you are living large, because it has an awesome magic stat, a ton of adornment slots, and it has good mana. For some builds, as I said, like if you're trying to carry, it might make that a bit complicated when you want to try to utilize your iconoclast, especially if you aren't running some mana draining items. But like stuff like world raid bosses, where you can pretty much manually adjust your mana, this is excellent, because you have the mana pool and you don't have to struggle to get down to low mana when you're doing world raid bosses, or even normal world bosses if you're doing some type of world boss farming. Awesome in PvP if you don't have certain things too, because it is just so strong. It has a really big magic stat on it. Arisen Kerberos staff. Yeah, this one is, it's okay, but this one is event only as well, so I'm not gonna get into it. I don't see why anybody would hunt that. This one is one that if you got it during T9 and you have nothing else, it has a decent ward stat and it has decent magic. It has pretty big ward, honestly. It has pretty big ward. So I wouldn't even say decent, just comparing it to the average mage item. It probably has the biggest ward of every mage item, if I'm remembering correctly. I guess we'll see at some point. And it has a decent little magic stat. It is a T9 item, so it's not going to have the biggest magic stat. But it's decent. It's decent, especially for one-handed builds early into T10. So the Arisen Macropillar, the same that I said about the Arisen Fae, except that this one, it doesn't have the mana takeaway. So for certain builds, the Arisen Fae is still better even for the mana that it takes away in carry builds, because sometimes you have so much mana that you just want to get rid of somehow. But this is awesome, another awesome weapon. If you got it early into T10 especially, you are living the dream. If you have it late in T10, you can still use it if you don't have certain things. It is good for everything pretty much, like as any staff would be. If you don't have another option, every staff can be, you can at least try. I'm going to show you the one staff that is pretty much irreplaceable, but at legendary or more, it is pretty much awesome. So this is an event one, and I'm going to skip it because two-handed, it's not bad. I guess it's not the worst. It's not the worst. But it's just that if you're gonna be using two-handed stuff, there are better two-handed stuff too. But it's definitely not the worst. There is an Olympian Joust, but we're gonna skip over it because it's one of those that if you need mana in Endless, if you have too much mana in Endless and you need mana drain, you can throw it on. Or like if you have no other alternatives and you want to use it to raid, you can. You could possibly use it to carry too, as it will help you to throw away your mana quicker. But as I said, the two-handed carry builds are still going to be superior, and I'm going to show you why soon. Arisen Palm Branch. Oh dear, oh dear, oh dear, oh dear. Oh dear. I'm not gonna get into that one. The Arisen Katvanga. Alright, I'm going to. So this one is good for tanky situations in Endless, especially. But that is pretty much the only place I think I would be using this, just because it does take magic power, and that is just a bit difficult to work with when you're earlier game, especially because you already have so little to work with, and then by later game you're using sequencer, so you're not going to be using that. So the Arisen Katvanga, this one is the two-handed weapon I was talking about. Good for carry builds, good for raiding, good for a lot of things. You have to pair it with those Arisen Trev Charms though to make sure it's awesome. If you're carrying, you would want one Arisen Trev Charm and one Lugos Gauntlet. You could even try it in Endless. Like, it works all over, honestly. It's just that by the time you have certain one-handed weapons, like two-handed style is superior, or then you have a good one-handed weapon and you have a shield to do other things. But if you have no other options, this is a really nice one. It even has a bit of mana on it. Oh my, wow. So I think I'm going to end this video here and start a new one, because we might be getting over to some interesting stuff soon. Well, not quite. I'm going to definitely go through these quickly in this video. So this one is decent. As I said, just look out for the mana stat and the magic stat. If you have no other options, it is pretty decent. This one is similar, has a higher magic stat and has a bit of dex. Arisen Surtur Sword, this will be our best in slot view distance item, because it has the most view distance slots with 8 slots, and we can dual wield that, and it is not penalized. It does not take a penalty when you dual wield for view distance. If you have good versions and you have all of these to waste on upgrading it, it's also a decent world farm and world boss farm weapon. Arisen Tarot. So this one gives you more orange and more gold. It gives you the most of any item, if I am remembering correctly, orange that is. But I still like the questing staff more just because I usually just try to boost if I'm doing any type of Orn related anything. So the passive summoning scrolls that I gain from boosting means that I'm profiting even as I'm doing something to benefit myself. Arisen Thor's Arc, Great Bows are not really that good on mage classes. Oof, I would not upgrade that. This one is a two-handed one. It's tier 9. I don't really know what to say about this thing, honestly. If you get it, you can try to upgrade it to tier 10. If you are fresh tier 10, you can try it out. As I said, like, the Zway class is pretty interesting. It gives a buff to two-handed weapons. And yeah, it is decent. Arisen Vulcan's Archie Staff is a good one too, has a little bit of magic, has a decent mage stat. A little bit of mana, has a good mage stat. And yeah, it is a decent one. Arisen Willow Branch. This one is another one that they say works well with hybrid builds, but it's just difficult, as I said, to use these things when you have alternatives. Arisen Witch's Staff, this one gives you experience, but this one's a bit weak, though you do have the tier 10 version, which is the end of dungeon reward, or I think it's also an end of raid reward. That is a bit stronger and it gives a good experience buff like questing staff would, similar to that. This is another hybrid item that is just, if you have nothing else and you can afford the water stones, the pure water stones, you can upgrade it. And as I said, for two-handed, it seems this isn't two-handed, is it not? I'm actually not sure. I thought it was, but ignore it, guys. Trash. This one is a bit of trash too, but the tier 9 items are going to be trash. And I'm not going to tell you guys to look for tier 9 items, and I've already told you guys what to look for in items. The important stats: dexterity, mana, magic. Magic and dexterity are the two most important for certain things, and then you have where ward will come in and play a factor, or you have where just the pure magic stat and a buff will come in. So it's just a lot of things, but it's situational. So only a few things can do everything well. And then when I reach to those items, I'll be sure to toot them. And I have tooted some before. So I'm going to go ahead and close out this video now. I would like to thank everyone for watching. As usual, thank you to my Patreons. I love you guys so much. My viewers, I love you guys as well. I'm going to start naming my Patreons again, honestly. It's just that sometimes some of them are shy, so I need to double check who wants to be named. But I appreciate all my subscribers, everyone who likes the videos, and everyone who watches in general. So thank you guys for watching as usual, and take care of yourselves.